Okay, hello everybody. This is the regular meeting of the Solid Waste Committee on Tuesday, November 14th at 5 p.m. It is now exactly 5 p.m. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. Before we move on, we have a member here who doesn't know some of the people seated at the table. If anybody can just go around and introduce themselves. James Aguirre, building official, facilities director, and health director.
Yeah, McMullen, town administrator.
Health agent.
Bob Perry, member. David Neely, member.
Missy Halifax, Mass DEP Municipal Assistance Coordinator.
What is she?
Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection.
Okay.
Joanne Wilson, Board of Health.
Tom Ferry, Highway Department, we also manage the transfer station.
Very good. Yeah, pledge of allegiance, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Item for new business. A, transfer station update, including point of sale system. So that would be Tom Ferry.
Yes, so again, put it in there and a little, did you just want an update?
Like a monthly update, generally speaking.
Okay, so we're still finding some quirks with it, and as usual, it's a human aspect of it, and we're working through that. The nuts and bolts for tonight, we're ready to start reporting with the new stickers. I'd like to roll out the new stickers starting next week for next year. And along with that, we're gonna start rolling out, everyone goes by the transfer station and it has to stop. Because that's going to include the recording of recyclables, even though they're now not paying, and also all the yard waste, so we can quantify the tonnage annually after, as this thing matures. And that's what our main goal was, to help for reporting for all aspects, not just for the bulky waste coming in.
What was the beginning of what you said? Everybody goes.
Stops at the attendant, because right now,
Okay.
if they get a sticker in the windshield, they just wait at the attendant, when everyone's just for recycling, no, everyone's gonna stop, so we can get inspected and whatnot. So there's still some quirky things happening, human error and whatnot, so we need to stop.
You see the sign posted up there that tells people that?
There will be,
Okay.
there'll be a shipping container too that you can't drive around, in front of you right there.
Okay, so would you like, Board of Health has a meeting next week. Would you like us to announce that transfer station stickers for 2024 are for sale?
When any meeting,
21st, Tuesday?
yeah, you can, now
Okay.
available, yes.
And they're available at the transfer station?
Yes.
Okay. No other venue? Just there?
They can when they bring you a load, they can get this, a one-stop shop, or they can buy it ahead of time, yes.
Okay, at the
Okay.
transfer station.
Method of payment card, personal checks still acceptable.
Personal checks are still acceptable, credit and debit.
And we'll also announce that there's going to be a new traffic pattern that needs to be followed. When does that go into effect?
Shouldn't have to announce that,
No, okay,
no,
okay,
I don't think the shop in order to work.
okay. I know you like to work that way.
Yeah, so there's the new stickers to help the attendant, because there's only one person, he can't be everywhere, monitoring what's coming off the vehicle and whatnot, which to help and try to free up moving forward. The stickers are gonna start with 24 because of the year 24.
Yeah.
And then the 24,000 will be the first number. So what's gonna happen, as he's selling them, he's gonna put all their information, so moving forward with that,
POS?
the POS we have,
On the number.
it'll pick up all their personal information quick, so it'll just be typing the number and off he goes. That should free him up a little bit,
Mhm.
even though it's gonna be a little bit more congested at the shack, but he should have more control, and plus our office should have more control, quantifying all the payments moving forward also.
So the sticker number that's sold to a resident will be in the system.
Mhm.
Put the number in, it'll auto-populate.
Yep.
Okay, that's good, yeah.
And we're still gonna use that old QuickBook setup.
Mhm.
You'll never need to merge with Unibank or any other system that we're using.
Okay.
We'll create the card so they only be charged at one convenience fee.
Right.
And it'll never be needed to update it because it's a CD anyways.
Right.
We just use that, create the card, and then put it through this POS system that way. So we'll have full control of that. We are gonna add, because we're doing away with the paper slips, the QuickBooks still identifies each transaction with an invoice number
Okay.
that we're there, so if you cancel the order or whatnot,
Mhm.
we can still tell what happened,
Mhm.
there's no transaction, what happens to that number, so
Okay.
he'll be held accountable to that.
And that system, the attendant can log in whatever that individual brings in other words, like a TV, stove,
Yes, it is,
small piano.
A refrigerator.
Yeah,
we have members here if you'd like to see it. Yes.
What is the
And then
name of this?
you can ask QuickBooks, like how many ties, but the report for just ties, and it'll come right up and who brought it to. All that stuff.
What's the name of the system that you're using?
Oh, we're using, I had one of my employees own a QuickBooks setup,
Oh, okay.
yeah, QuickBooks.
So
And we're using the Unibank as far as the credit debit line side,
So we basically wrote our own system.
and we can manage it.
I just came from a conference where they, were offering all these systems and
Yeah.
stuff, and some of
But
the
I
fees.
have a problem with monthly fees.
Well, so this is the interesting thing, it seems that, I need to clarify whether it's community or curbside recycling or trash, or if it's also drop off, but the fees should be eliminated because it's considered a utility, so I need to look into that more. But,
Oh, I
Yes.
see.
yeah, because the fees are a huge issue.
Oh, that's why we set up the way we did, because the bank wanted each item as a convenience fee. That wasn't gonna work that time.
Yeah.
Tom, I have a question. Is there a way, what happens if somebody violates some of the rules of the transfer station? Can we pull their ticket number from them? Has that been done in the past? Or their sticker number, sorry?
They had, yes, it'd actually be easier, and we do have $1,000 fine for illegal dumping too, so if you were told not to dump anyways, that's probably not a good idea. We haven't had to explore that.
Okay,
Actually, we had one gray area, and a guy chose to go in the dumpster and take the stuff back out,
oh, okay.
yes, to avoid any further action.
But there is a way to revoke that sticker number from
Yes.
someone if necessary. Okay.
And I think the only problem you may have is if they're adamant about bringing the can item in,
Yeah, okay,
because it has a tie, what else do you do with it? People are getting, it's hard to get rid of stuff.
okay.
So that was actually one of the topics, I think you're kind of brushing on an area that I'm talking about, with mandatory recycling and town regulations as far as, what you can and can't do, like, do you find people, do you not, automatically say no longer you being able to use the service? So that's something that we can look at too, a lot of communities are starting to do that because, various issues and stuff like that, but again, it just kind of covers everybody.
So, a question for you.
Yeah.
I know you're not the first, but we had a dilemma with the phone that's there,
With the phone,
the phone,
oh.
is it required to be there?
Oh, so this is, I am with a different division of
Right,
Mass
but I just wanted- I just wanna know if you could-
Yeah, I'm not that person, so that would be the Sarah office, in Lakeville. So they handle all those little things, and when I joke and say, I wouldn't know one of those regulations would fell on me on the head, see, I would have no clue. And I know that some transfer stations, recycling centers have a really hard time because they're, located near the old, town dump and stuff, and it's really hard to get, access and stuff, so
is there a point person for that? Phone issue?
that would be the.
Well, me and Mike are working on it now, instead of,
No, I mean, at DEP, it's.
well, it was one of the requirements and something that third-party inspection looked for. But that was before cell phones. Right now, you have a landline going in there and it needs to be serviced, so we just eliminate it, but we may have a mobile phone that's available just to leave there for the access to. That's only if we're required, because everyone has a cell phone now.
Right.
So that's my dilemma, again, the monthly fee thing, why,
Yeah.
you know,
Talk to them about that, yeah.
yeah. It's cheaper than me. Any questions? And so I believe deciding when those new stickers roll out, I believe that's all on me, I don't think this committee or Board of Health, I think that's my department now, am I correct? That's more of my question, but
Sorry, we were talking.
Sorry, what, I'm sorry.
just reiterating, the decision, like, to roll out the new stickers, that's more of my department, not Board of Health, not this committee.
Right.
That's more,
No.
that's new for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think the communication is good, we can announce it at the Board of Health meeting, I think that's all we need to do.
Definitely. And then the other thing I noticed is maybe updating the website, like really having clear information for the residents what's coming up, and if you use the news alerts or anything like that, letting people know.
Thank you, John.
So with that said, and this is a logistics question, but Tom and I don't get a lot of time together. Is that something that your office manager would do, or is that something the health department would be looking to do with the website? Does she have admin access to the website?
She does.
Okay.
And which website you talk about? Ours or the town itself?
I think it should be on Board of Health and yours.
And she can go, all
So,
the ministers.
okay. Great. Okay, enough on that one? Okay. B, trash bag update. So I can start off. We went with a new trash bag vendor. We were running low on stock. We had some issues with the quality of our previous trash bags. So we went back out, accepted bids, went with a new vendor. They were exceptional with their customer service and their response times. We received the shipment in less than 17 days. It was just phenomenal from start to finish. So I'm very happy with the new vendor. Let's just hope that the quality of the bag stays on par. But we worked on some new artwork. The bags are a little bit different looking. The seal is still there, but we added some print to it, some text. They're in rolls, they're sealed. It's a win-win as far as I'm concerned.
Last meeting, you mentioned something about a price increase, is that one?
We're gonna talk about that tonight.
Okay.
Yes. But the trash bags itself are here to stay, they're not going anywhere. We just ordered a fresh new trailer full. So hopefully that's gonna carry us well into next year. And then what I'd like to do, just so everybody's understanding, is we used to have our stock deplete towards the end of the fiscal year, and then there was a calamity towards the end of the fiscal year, start of the new fiscal year. This time, I'm gonna bring it so our stock depletes in October of the following fiscal year. So I'll be placing another order if need be towards the end of this current fiscal year to get us to October. If I have enough in the fund, great. If not, I'll be doing some kind of reserve fund transfer to get us there, and then we'll be on track to go October to October.
And we'll be ahead of the game, so we're not chasing that.
Right,
And your new vendor is very good at that.
Yes.
They're very good with customer service and
great.
working with, vendors, for how being sold and stuff like that, so.
Great, thank you.
Speaking of bags and prices, have we made any headway on collecting
We have,
monies from those that owe town bags?
we have, yes.
Have we collected it all or in part or?
No, we have collected a large portion of it. Our largest vendor is down to just under 30K, which is much less than the close to 50K we were at. So we're doing very well. We do have some smaller vendors that are still in arrears. We're working with them. The board has been reluctant to cut them off with bag distribution. I will tell you that I rationed them a little bit, and it seems to have worked. So
What does that mean? I know what ration means, but,
it means when they order 10 cases, I give them 5
okay.
and let them know that they need to pay their bill. So
And you're collecting?
we did, yes.
Well, good.
We are, yes. So, that said, there was one incident that occurred where we had a vendor upselling trash bags, charging more than they were allowed to based on the vendor agreement. So, the board had a zero tolerance policy. We went back, confiscated the bags, they're no longer able to sell bags.
Good.
So, right now, we're working on putting a spreadsheet together to see where we are in time and space with collections and what they owe. I believe we might owe them a small amount of money. I'm holding off on doing anything with that to see if they file some kind of a hearing with the board. But so far, they haven't requested a hearing.
Bags for $15.
Bags are 10 and 20, and they were upselling them over that amount. We had some reports of other vendors doing that, but we haven't been able to verify that. So right now, it was just the one establishment.
So is the reason, I know from the town that I live in, is some of the smaller vendors are saying that because of the credit card fees, that they're not able to. So, suggesting to them that, you only sell them, for cash services or, whatever.
Right.
There's,
Right, and that's a deeper discussion that I want to get into. I guess this is a good time to bring it up, right?
Sure.
Okay. I'd like to actually look at that program in its entirety and see if really our vendor agreement limiting the vendor from setting the price is really the way to go, especially in a capitalistic country like the United States. If we have an amount that we as a town think we need to collect for that bag, why can't we let the free markets determine what the bag can be sold for? And that's a question I really
that's a
have for you.
question I'm gonna have to ask my people
Okay.
about that.
I mean, because if I'm a vendor and I'm getting charged 3% for a credit card transaction, and I'm actually losing money on the bag, I'm gonna be reluctant to sell that bag. Although I understand that they're coming in for more than the bag and they're spending money elsewhere. But when the margins are so tight in the retail industry, what do they actually have to sell over the counter to make up that credit card sale?
Price you pay for doing business in Dayton.
Well, then we're not gonna be very business friendly, are we?
That may be a little insight, some good old competition in town.
Yeah, I thought, and this is just a thought, I thought that if we give some real deep thought into this new vendor agreement, rewrite it in such a way where we have our base price that we need to see for the bags to keep the program sustainable. But we have some flexibility in the agreement that lets the vendor upcharge up to 15% or something like that, putting a cap on it. Let the vendors decide if they wanna go 5, 10, or 15%.
I will ask definitely for the real reason for it, but my first thought is that because it is a municipal utility, that is why they can't have fluctuating prices with it. I'm gonna double check, because it is an issue, and it's not just here, it's all over. And like I said, a lot of these mom and pop stores who sell these, it really does hurt their margin. And like you said, you can't have them, buy part of their order, the credit card, and it's just really crazy.
Yeah, we had one vendor telling consumers they can't pay with credit card, they can only pay cash.
Yeah.
So, and I understand that, I completely understand that, I'm a business owner, it makes sense, but I just want to make sure that if we're going to revamp this program, I want to do it once and I want to do it right.
And I'm gonna double check, but I know no other municipality has done anything like that, and I'm imagining it's because it's not allowed. But I will find out more reasoning, and if there's any thought process about something like that.
Now, one other point.
I don't, my initial reaction is I don't agree with the upcharge. With that said, there are a lot of factors in there, and I think maybe the charge on the bag, for the sake of argument, for $2 and 3% plus 2% of $2 is 6 cents, whatever. Anyway, because bags are sold, take Hannaford's, for instance, okay? I've been in line where people have purchased the bags with cash, with debit card, so there's no fee there, and also with credit cards, which there is a fee to the vendor. So if a vendor comes in and says, I can't handle this 3% fee, that implies that everybody's paying with a credit card. And maybe the deeper dive is, if we're gonna do something about this, maybe $20 or whatever, plus 3%. But to allow the free market on something that's a public service, to your point, is again, my fear is if you let the free market go and they start charging here, charging there, ultimately, people that can't afford to buy the bags throw it on the side of the road, because I've seen it happen in the past. So that, we really need to be careful, number one, and number two, if a vendor says, I can't handle, again, I know I'm repeating myself, they say, well, I can't handle a 3% fee. Okay, great. How many people, of all these bags you sold, what percentage of those bags are purchased with credit cards? Because, as I said, I've seen debit and I've seen cash. Okay, so just something to think about when we focus in on this issue.
The other thing I thought of that we could do, if your comments, Missy, come back and say, no, we can't, then I thought that we write the vendor agreement where we give a 5% discount to our retail service establishments, where they pay 5% less for a case than what we want for face value. And we factor that into our revenue stream so that we can make sure we price it accordingly.
Are the vendors now receiving monies for the sale of those bags, or it's just passed?
Very small amount, very minuscule amount, pennies on a, like 2 or 3 pennies on a bag.
So that's a problem.
Yeah, but it's not covered in the 3% credit card.
I understand that, but it's still
Yeah.
a profit. They're being paid to, okay, so for the sake of argument, say 5% a nickel a bag, that's $1 for a roll of 20. That certainly covers the credit card fee, okay? And again, there's 3 components to pay for it. So, I mean, I'm not in favor of raising the prices, okay? Because again, a lot of people in this town are on fixed incomes. There are a lot of people that are hurting, and I understand all that, but maybe we go, instead of the addition direction, maybe we go the subtraction direction, okay, and offer a nickel bag. Just a thought.
This is all good information. The thing that I am trying to move away from is, we have just about every single vendor that we've used for us trash bag sales, owes money. They owe us money for a reason. Now, I'm not going to get into the way they run their business, but if every single business owes us money, then there's gotta be a reason for that. If it's poor business management, then we have horrible businesses in this country. If it's the fact that this is just a pass-through for them, and they're moving money elsewhere from bag sales to help sustain their business, then I think we should try to work with them to help them sustain their business.
Again, I agree with that. However, the town of Dayton should not be the support structure for people moving their money around within their business. And quite frankly, if they owe us money, I concur with what we said here earlier, shut the bags off, okay? Even if it comes down to, and I know it would be a burden, but even if it comes down to bag sales in the Board of Health, but say, well, they owe us this money, that money. If their business practices are that bad, then they must owe the bread company money, they must owe the ice cream company, the milk. No, but I'm saying, if they're shuffling money around, we shouldn't be the money that they shuffle around.
No, that's a good point.
It really all comes down to what I find out from what is allowed. And, maybe there's something being worked on that I don't know about as well, but bringing it up, because you're not the only, towns that have this, so. And it is becoming more common as those credit card fees are really cutting into their profit margins. So, until we really find out what we can do, from that. But I have a feeling it's not a lot of wiggle room. Because the idea is no one's supposed to be making money.
On a utility,
Yeah.
yeah, it's utility at the end of the day, it's not on money.
Again, part of your overview should be a percentage of the sales paid for with credit card. Because there are 2 other free options. Okay? Just thinking.
One of the things I never heard of a table like that, these merchants that are selling these things, they do the town a service. We can't get away from nothing.
Great.
And if we do something like, having spent my career in the retail business, I can tell you what's gonna happen. down the street is charging $15, and the service charge up here is charging $20, and a service charge. Everybody's going down the street. It'll happen.
That's what built this country.
It's happened. My main question is, what's kind of lax policy that we have in existence right now that allows them to get in the position that they owe us money?
We did, and I think that's some of it. I could completely agree with you. And I think I proved tonight in what I said about shutting the vendor off, those days are over. But we still have people in arrears, and now I have to go play catch up to try to get that money.
How are you gonna do that?
Once I get the board's input, having the Board of Health member here at the solid waste meeting was pivotal in making sure the board understands how important this is. If I can get the board to agree to have the same type of a response that I had with the vendor who was upselling, with people who owe us money, then I think we'll get somewhere.
Question.
And excuse me, how long will that, do you anticipate this?
I'm gonna bring it up at the next Board of Health meeting.
Yeah, like it's been part of an ongoing effort, because we do what it helps.
The
And
Board of
how
Health
long do you
demand
expect it
effect-
will be before you see these houses?
Well, if I get the blessing from the board, then I'll implement that right away, before Christmas. The board, in their defense, has been reluctant to shut off vendors because they don't want to hurt the consumer. Because ultimately, the consumer hurts if they lose the convenience of being able to buy the trash bags. So I completely understand that.
But in the meantime, we go to risk.
Exactly. On a budget that's already in the red, which is another issue.
My question is, are the residents allowed to purchase trash bags at the transfer station?
No.
Is that something that could happen on the days that we have an attendant there,
It's a good question.
at the town's cost?
At least town hall is gonna entertain someone also. I'm here, in Board of Health.
Where is the trailer stored right now with the bags in it?
I would grudge.
Undisclosed location.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a feasibility issue for it to be sold there, if you have an attendant there
Could.
who could bring a box out at a time?
It could be, at the transfer station is open very little, and then you could have the possibility of security stolen hours. Right, so area.
Bags are not going to the transfer.
The biggest, my biggest,
Some could be though.
it could be, my biggest downfall of some of the areas where you're encouraging people to use curbside pickup. So you move from the transfer station to curbside pickup.
I understand, but if we could save the residents some money and they could purchase it
Directly from
transfer
downtown.
station, you know, if we have to shut off 6 vendors all at once with a new policy in place, those residents need to go somewhere other than the Board of Health or the town hall, if they can go to the transfer station on the days that are, you know, they normally go.
And that is something that a lot of towns do. They do have other outlets within the municipal town. One very small town in Western Mass has their library. And I've seen the size of your library. I would not even suggest that. But, you know, so a lot of towns do look into things like that. Or even a senior center, you know, like something like that. Where it really.
Yeah, and I,
That's a good idea.
The senior center, we sell here, and we also will break off the bundle too. We sell for bag, because people are that frugal.
Yes.
That's how times that these gentlemen are alluding to, people are that favoring.
I can tell you that when we did ration the largest seller of bags recently, to initiate some payments, the Board of Health did see a huge influx of people buying bags. So it, you know, I'm fine with that, we managed it well, but it does add to the burden of our
Yes.
operations in the office. So we really need to have these outside locations available for the public. Not just for the fact that, you know, we want to make sure the office is staffed properly and to do their job, but also convenience for the consumer. Again, if you don't make it that easy for them to buy bags, then you increase the chance of having illegal trash dump.
Understand, yeah, but I mean, you know, it's the whole thing needs to be addressed and discussed. But I'm not adding to the price. And quite frankly, the vendors who went to the other ones that impacts the budget. I understand that. To remain there, the issue of 1% fee for credit card goes away. I think that's- And I don't mean to harp on this point, but we're not doing the same thing in the States.
All right, so we'll wait to hear back from you on that. Okay. I think I'll refrain from the next discussion, which is also back related to the F6 and business sales, okay? C, Mass DEP grant updates.
Gabriel, this is you, just an update on the grants between, at the last meeting, are there any updates on them, or is that?
No, but I would like to flush out, did you bring the allowances for the bag spending? I'm sorry, for the grant spending?
That's what
I
I
think
just
Missy did,
Okay.
actually, to her credit.
Okay, so one of the things I wanted to ask for the next week's meeting, is I know some of this grant money, Board of Health, some of this grant money has been sitting for a while, and we need to use it in a positive way, but, there are two things that come to mind that we could use, some of the monies for. I did notice, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we can buy benches and stuff made out of recycled materials. Is that accurate? Okay. And bottle filling stations that we use
Yes.
bottles, those are also, that's an approved, okay. So, this is more just an informational thing for the body, but I think I'm gonna bring to the board next week that we approve the expenditure of grant funds for some benches for the town hall campus made out of recycled materials. There are a lot of people that use this facility, the walking track, et cetera. And town hall does not have any refillable bottle stations. We do have them at Old Town Hall, we don't have them at Town Hall. So, I'd like to, possibly send grant funds for that as well. I just wanted to make sure that was.
One of the other things that I noticed is that, you've been accumulating funds.
Right.
So, according to my records that we have from Mass DEP, what's been submitted, that you guys, after adding in that 6,000, then you have 14,500.
Right, yeah, and those bottle filling stations are not inexpensive, they're pretty expensive.
Yeah, oh, yes, and once you start getting into the plumbing, and
Exactly.
that's why I'm like surprised you did the Old Town Hall before the other one.
Right, well, we did a renovation.
His office.
Oh, okay, that was right, okay.
I'm just kidding.
But one of the other things I wanted to suggest is, and I don't know if we'll be able to talk about it tonight, is that some of the grant categories are going to be going away.
Okay.
We just sent out an email and we're gonna have more information on it, so I didn't know if everyone had it, but, so I just printed out the email for me to go through it. But basically, when I look at what, you've traditionally gotten your money for, it's going to, we're going to be eliminating the yard waste. Mainly because that was initiated a long time ago to get everyone to the idea that it's a banned item. Well, it's been about 15 years now, so everyone has that idea. So we're going, okay, let's move on to something else, so we're eliminating that. And unfortunately, that for a lot of towns, that really is a big thing.
Okay.
The other one is the bulky items is going to be downgraded to 1 point instead of 2. So that
That's
we-
like a costly endeavor for us as
Yeah.
well, like, which we want to explore options.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, and that's why I was asking about the,
Yeah.
the bulky waste thing. So there's some ways we can kind of play around with that.
Okay.
And the fact that you have a transfer station site, and as I was driving around, getting kind of lost tonight, you have a lot of really good community spaces. And we can actually maybe do some collection events and stuff. That has nothing to do with your budget at all. You basically bring in an outside vendor. They come in, residents pay them, it's gone. And then again, if you want to throw in some other things, collecting things for charities, or whatever, you do that too, but recycling. But my feeling is that, so knowing what you're going to be losing,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to lose that. So
Right.
one of the things that we do with the money is to reinvest it so that you can get points. for
Based
other
on what
things.
we reinvested in?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, so some of the things that I'm looking at that are just real easy reaches, and unfortunately, it might not be for you. Sorry about that, is the library. It's called the Library of Things. it doesn't have to be held in the library. Obviously, I know you're gonna be getting a new library, but right now it's kind of, but what a library of things is instead of borrowing books, you borrow stuff. And the idea is that people don't have to buy things that they might only use once and then throw away or do something else with it. And we're trying to really focus on reducing and reusing rather than recycling, trying to get rid of it before it gets to the end. So what I was thinking that, this is actually a lovely building, but I don't know if you have other buildings where you could do a library of things. And it doesn't have to be big things, because a lot of communities have really small footprint. It could even be the Board of Health. One of the things I've been trying to get people to, especially with COVID, is I think that you had, I'm sorry, somebody, maybe it wasn't your community, I'm trying to think of another community. They had a grant money for funding from some health stuff or for disability stuff. And it's going to be put in their library and residents can borrow this kind of thing.
Okay.
So there are grants out there, so like with the health departments, those little oximeter things that were $10. You could do blood pressure cuffs, you could do, little health things for people. And then if you added in other things, the idea is that you need to have a minimum of 30 in 3 different categories. And they don't have to be gigantic things, like some libraries have, these yard game things that take up this whole table kind of thing.
Mhm.
It can be like board games, it can be crochet and knitting kits. It can be a lot of really small things, but the idea is for, people to try different things, or it can be technology. Hotspots or green screens or, whatever, really small kind of things.
Can it be logoed with the town's logo?
Yes, you can do anything you want with this.
Could they be logoed with an outside vendor's logo if they provided free products to this?
Oh, I honestly don't know. I think it's okay because when I look at some of the other towns, they've accumulated their things from grants. So, and of course, when you do a grant from somebody, they want their name on it. So I don't think it's a problem with the town sponsoring it or the Lions Club, whatever. So you can kind of accumulate them from whatever way you want. Residents, wish list. I personally have, 3 Instapots, things like that. And I know I'm not the only one in residents out there the same way. But for you, my concern is where it would be stored,
Right.
Our biggest,
so.
Do you know, not to put you on the spot, do you know of another community that you can think of that's doing this successfully? Doing this successfully already? That has this program?
Oh, gosh, yes. Oh, this is super popular throughout the whole state.
Yeah.
It's actually, it's been promoted at the Mass Library Association as well. So it's something that's very easy. The librarians know how to do what they love, however they code, a toaster or whatever kind of thing. So it is very easy for them to do. But your biggest constraint with your library would be the space.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be the library.
We could incorporate that into the new library, is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, and again, it just, a little closet, because you just stack the stuff up or a clothes hanger. And librarians are really good with coming up with ways to, display and store stuff kind of thing.
Yeah, a program like that makes sense to the library because they already have that type of system in place.
Exactly.
So it's just an extension thereof.
Yeah.
It's just-
And again, it's good community service, and then you get your logo on there that, the Department of Health and the DPW is, got this from the grant from SDP or wherever, that, it sounds like that might be further down the road.
And what are the 3 categories?
So it can be any 3 categories, it's just as long as it's not like everything from games.
Okay.
So.
Is there a list of those categories somewhere?
I'm sorry?
Is there a list of those
There-
categories somewhere?
There isn't, I can send the information to you with that,
Okay.
but it's really anything. So it could be big broad things like outdoor stuff, health stuff, kitchen and cooking, crafts, electronics, home office, home repair, stud finders, things that, somebody was suggesting a luggage.
Reduce the
weight.
reuse items.
Exactly, and think small.
Yeah.
And small is also cheap, but I have, a luggage scale and how many times do I use it? And how many times do I can't find it because I don't know where it is, but again, if it's at the library, you wanna go by yours. And that thing costs $10-15, it's this big, and so little things like that. another way, and this is something, it doesn't have to be your library, but it's, and again, this is free. I noticed you have the Lions Club.
Yes.
Yes.
Doing what are called fix-it or repair clinics. And what these basically are, again, the idea of is stopping us from like throwing stuff away all the time, teaching people or fixing stuff for people. There are programs, and because they, you know, the liability is all covered and all this stuff, you know, there's waivers and all this stuff, like you don't have to reinvent everything. This has already been done by, again, many towns. And you have these, believe it or not, these people who love to fix stuff. I hate to say it, there are a lot of retired men who don't play golf, they don't, you know, play tennis, they don't fish, they love to fix stuff, and they putter around and they go to these different events and fix stuff. And they're women, you know, and, you know, as well doing this as well, and it could be sewing, it could be actually fixing stuff. The number one item are lamps, the little, that little gold thing up there, whatever it's called. So, yeah, see, I don't even know. But again, so they can teach people how to do it, they can, you know, fix it for them, and it's just huge variety of things. And again, it can be a community event with kids' activities, but again, you get points for things like these. And that one doesn't really cost any money, really. But so looking at some of these things, you know, that, I'm trying to think off the top of my head really quickly here. So that would be bringing in more funds for you. Oh, sorry. I don't like all whatsoever. So some of the things that I think would cost more money at this point is increasing the items that are hard to recycle. You're gonna have, you know, you collect them and you have to pay. So I think that would not be a good choice at this point. But when we're talking about the seniors and the bag fees,
Excuse me,
I'm sorry,
go by that one again,
I'm sorry?
go by that one, you just put on the table.
The explanation you just said about providing something and then having to get rid of it.
Oh, okay.
You just
Oh, okay.
elaborate on that.
So these are two groups. One is called a Repair Cafe and the other one's called a Fix-It Clinic. And they have websites and they've been doing this all over the world. And you pick, you know, 2 or 3 events a year and kind of scheduled out. And you have it advertised that, you know, bring all your stuff here, we'll fix it for you. And then we'll also you know, the people organizing it, the Lions or the Scouts or whoever, they would bring in these experts who fix things. And their experts are just,
What's the nearest town that's doing this?
I'm sorry?
What's the nearest town that's doing this?
Off the top of my head, I know Ashland is doing it. They just had one a couple weeks ago. I can send some videos about it on YouTube. We've worked with, actually, again, this is a library program. A lot of the libraries do this. And we've worked with the Mass Library Association, and when my boss just did a presentation with this, again, you know, getting everyone to do this kind of idea. It's a good community building thing, and it's teaching people, you know, how to fix things. And the other thing is that you can buy kits with your funding here for like fixing phones and other things like that. So it's just an idea, and it keeps going. Like every year you would do 2 or 3 of these events. And it really, a lot of times it's, you know, not necessarily the town doing it, but it's, you know, a community group doing it.
Dave, you wanna run with that?
No. I know some folks in Ashland, but.
And you know, the thing is, I was shocked. My first thing was like, well, who's gonna come fix this stuff, you know? But I was shocked. There are people, like young, you know, people that have gotten their apprentice licenses and all this stuff. They're gung-ho, and they wanna fix the stuff. So it really does. But again, that's another, you don't really have to pay for anything. You know, you can buy tools and donuts or something like that. But, you know, but again, that is one of our categories where you can get points for.
Quick suggestion regarding this fixing program. You might also explore looking into vocational schools. The
Yes,
students
and I
there to
drove
be-
around in the parking lot, we're over that, yes.
Because not only would that provide a community service, but it would also give them, the students,
Yes.
experience in dealing with A, fixing something, and B, dealing with the public, because ultimately they're gonna go out and deal with the public in their particular area of expertise.
Excellent, and I can't believe my thing of that is like turned around in the park and I go, wow, this is really awesome. So, yeah, one of my children went to a low-tech school, and it's just kind of getting your foot in the door to get the school open to doing something like that, a new program. It could be a club, I mean, really, to be honest, it's been a kind of a dream to get these low-tech schools in it, because and the other thing is it's teaching these kids entrepreneurial skills and skills for the future.
So I think if it's approached in that fashion, I think you've got a whole area of semi-experts
Yes.
that are growing, that are overseen by experts, and I think that's a win-win also.
So if you have any connections with the schools, I mean, that's really kind of where it is, getting in and being able to work with them with that. I mean, I would be happy to work, with the
Well,
Roberts.
I think, since DEP or whoever is recommending these kinds of programs, I would suggest that DEP perhaps initiate some sort of contact with various vocational schools, say, hey, would you be interested? Clearly coming from, I think, the state level, saying, would you be interested in this kind of thing across the
Yeah.
state?
And
I think that would be more forceful than, me trying to walk in and say, I'm a member of the solid waste committee, and would you like to fix this thing?
yeah, unfortunately, they don't really do that level of stuff. So this is kind of where we're kind of have to go on at a lower level and work with teachers and.
Yeah, like a partnership or community
Yeah,
partnership
yeah,
type of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, exactly. So, but one of the, again, like I said, there's other ways that we can, I'm very confident we can do this. And one of the ways I just mentioned, we were talking about the bag fees and all this stuff. One of the concept of DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Everyone immediately thinks of skin color or, racial backgrounds. But a lot of times it actually has to do with people with disabilities or income. So a lot of communities will have discounts for seniors, just a flat across the board seniors. Well, not all seniors are low income. So having reduced bag fees or maybe, packet a year free or something based on income. So if you have any tax abatement programs or anything like that.
Do we have an ability to do that through the RDP as well?
Yes.
Is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, and that would actually give you, one of the points for that, being able to provide, low-income residents with that. And I don't know what numbers would look like, that's the other thing. You need to, some communities that would be a really big hit,
Yeah,
others it would not be. So, you can kind of play with it a little bit, or fees or whatever, that we can do that. So there are ways, and I'm pretty confident that we can do that. I mean, we're all working together close enough, we're talking about these things enough now that we have time to do that, so I'm pretty confident you'll take that up.
Mattress collection container grant. So at the last meeting, we discussed that we were the recipient of a $10,000 grant to buy a container specifically for mattress collection for our mattress recycling program, which is in full effect and doing well. I found out since then, because I believe Mr. Ferry, you suggested for that amount of money, we could buy two. That's not possible. A 40-foot container right now, a one-use container, meaning it came over once. It's a good container, well-painted, no dents, weather-tight, is around $10,000. That's why the grant was $10,000. So we can't buy two, so.
That was,
we can only buy
the
one.
grant is for one, and one community did try and do two last year, and I was like,
Right,
one.
right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring to the board next week an expenditure to buy one 40-foot single run container for like 9,000 and change, I think it came in at. So I just want the committee to know that we'll be moving forward with that, we'll be ordering that. And
That's enclosed, weathertight and all that.
Yes, exactly.
Is that reimbursable or the money's already here?
I'm sorry?
Last I knew, we didn't have the money yet,
yeah, I don't know a lot
I
of
didn't know.
statistics.
we can't order it unless we have it.
In terms of the $10,000 for that grant, is it a reimbursement based grant?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we will have to fund that based on the contract that we signed.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah, like, and we'll have an ability to get reimbursed
Yeah.
for that, but the contract, yeah.
Yeah, so I printed out the contract, so,
Yeah.
you know, this part you would have to sign, and then, you know, again, the whole reimbursement thing later on. And then just quickly to go through it, all this, you know, responsibilities of the grantee, you're already doing that already, so yeah, you're good. But, you know, and then just getting this, and then the publicity and outreach, you know, when you do it, just, you have to make sure, you know, it's funded by Mass DEP kind of thing, and then this is something really silly, and you're gonna probably forget this, and you're gonna ask me 4 months from now. The sticker, the
Yeah.
does not have to be huge, when it'll say like a minimum of 2 inches, and people are like, is that a typo? They just want something small, I mean, it literally could be like a little bumper sticker kind of thing. It doesn't have to be huge.
Okay.
We just wanted to, you know, state that, you know, it's funded by grants from Mass DEP. But everyone asks that, it's like, is that a typo? No, it's not designed to be huge and spend a lot of money on it.
Okay. And that can be paid for by the grant too, right?
Yes. Yes, and the cost is, yes. Sometimes it's cheaper to get the bigger ones, so anyway,
Okay.
but that's just a weird one.
No, that's very helpful, because we're leasing the one that we use now, so that's great.
So, and then the other thing is not on our agenda, but I think something I wanna bring up now, something to start thinking about. You're a small community, small communities are really struggling with these services. Kind of think about reaching out to neighbors or other communities that are near you. In Massachusetts, we don't like the term regionalization, except in health departments. Health departments are doing great, they're regionalizing.
Yeah, shared services.
Yes,
That's-
yeah, it's
that's
services,
the line,
yes,
it's
yes,
services.
yes.
And it hasn't fully been implemented yet,
Yeah.
so we've heard it's still not
That is. But I have a colleague on the Cape, and she said, we don't call them regionalization, we call them resource sharing. So on the Cape, they do these things a lot, and they do it very well, because again, a lot of the programs are not financially sustainable for small communities. So it's not something now, but big picture, maybe 5 years down the road or whatever, to kind of look at little things. And sometimes small little programs together to kind of test the water are good to that, kind of like with the, you know, recycling with the mattresses, or, you know, other programs like that. Just kind of, you know, feel the water out and how everyone, because you're not the only ones going through this.
Right.
So others might be open to discussions as well, so just
Sure.
planting that seed out there.
Okay. Okay, Michael, technical assistance grant application, does that need to be?
No, we actually, like, we do actually have the grant that when this is
Right,
here.
that's what I thought, like,
Yeah.
So we do have that under
do
new
another one?
business.
No,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm here, I'm yours.
Yes, and yeah, like in F, like in FY 25 budget planning based on what the grant is looking at, through the DEP technical assistance. Will hopefully be able, to help inform how we go forward in funding, the whole solid waste program. In FY 25, FY 26 and beyond, so that's, hopefully the broader conversation we want to start having with Missy. To help make sure, our efforts, what we're trying to do and how we're funding them, it is sustainable. And they follow what's working in other towns in the state as well, I do think, as the research will show, I do think how we're currently funding, the whole program is not, it's not actually a best practice, yes, we're working through Missy, and having her help and look at all this is gonna be really helpful. So, that brings us to new business.
Yeah, so, one of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight, and I don't wanna take up the whole night, but
She's a contract. Sorry? Contract we were talking
Oh, so I don't have the contract, this is the contract that they submitted, that is for.
that is like an application that, we included in the packet. In the pack, in the pack last one.
Yeah, so it's not a money one. So, this one,
So for the
you can
DEP.
spend the money, or this is the RDP one. That's the,
The container.
yeah, that's for the mattress container, I'm sorry.
He's not happy about the sticker.
It's a sticker, right? I don't even know if it's on there, like I said, you'll read it and
Mhm.
I guarantee you'll go, I gotta ask, this is weird.
So this is one of my quagmires as being ops manager for this department. The solid waste program is running at a significant deficit. Thank you. Is that just one? And I know there's a lot of data on here, so we don't need to belabor ourselves with going through it all. But the one thing I want to bring your attention to is the output. So first of all, this is the last 5 fiscal years from FY 2019 to FY 23, from top to bottom. The 2 columns that have the yellow numbers in them are the deficits that we're running in the program. You can see that we're well into the $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 range for a deficit each year. The last fiscal year being in excess of $450,000. That means that the revenue we take in from trash bag sales are not nearly covering the cost of our curbside pickup. So the issue that I have as the director of the department is when I try to put a budget together that makes sense to the people with Dayton and to the department itself, I can't in good conscience bring the budget to the table this kind of deficit. I feel that this is a service-oriented program, meaning the people who use the service should pay for the service. We've been told in the past that our pay-as-you-throw program is doing very well with respect to, on the responsibility side, our taxpayers, our recycling, our trash counts are average or slightly below average, I think.
Everything is really good, you
Yeah.
have really good.
So we're running a really good program. The issue is that we're not paying for it.
Right.
And I know that there's been some discussion with this committee in the past about whether paying for it the way I envision it, or paying for it through the regular taxes are different. We differ on that opinion. The problem is that this is not a sustainable program. The program, the way it's operating right now, is in the red, and it's in the red by almost $500,000. So there are a couple of constants that I want to throw on the table moving
Okay,
forward.
if,
Yeah, sure.
let's define in the red. Does in the red mean we have to go for supplemental funds from the taxpayers, or does that mean, does in the red mean it's being paid for by appropriated funds?
It means that every year, because it's in the red, this affects the tax rate
Correct.
for the Dayton taxpayers.
Okay,
It also affects the levy limit substantially.
see, I wanted to get a clarification on what in the red means.
All right.
All right, so, as in the past, when budgets have been created, gone and looked at the revenues, et cetera, said the delta is, in this case, this is what we need. When we look at the line items in the town meeting, this is what we need to make this program continue. So that's what we're saying is in the red.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, correct, raise and appropriate.
The problem is that when you have a program that Daytonians have come to expect, and I do believe they do expect trash pickup curbside, and rightfully so, having this much of a deficit in this one program affects every other operating budget in town government, because it digs into the levy limit so much every fiscal year that it makes it really hard to sustain the other cost increases that come along with the regular operation of town government. That's why, and I feel strongly about this, if you can get a paging program to be self-sufficient, or as close to self-sufficient as possible, and get that $500,000 number down to either zero or close to zero, you now take that off the table when you're discussing the revenue, which gives a little more flexibility with the rest of the budget. And it may even allow Dayton not to hit the 2.5 every year like we've done for the past 15 years. Because this has been a problem running in the red. This only goes back 5 fiscal years, but I can guarantee you if I went back another 10, 15 years, it'd be the same thing. So
But we're still collecting garbage.
we are. The problem is that you, the selectmen, Board of Health, have put their trust in me to figure out how to run a department as fiscally responsible as possible while not jeopardizing the success we've had with the program. I'm telling you that it's not being paid for. We need to figure out a way to pay for it. So, and this is,
What's your suggestion?
my suggestion is a group discussion.
Yeah, like with Missy's help, like
Right,
informed about
right.
how every other
Right.
town also
Right.
approaches these same challenges.
I don't have all the answers. I do have a recommendation that I think we should look at. It's clear to me that bag sales alone can't cover the deficit. It's not going to happen. So the bottom section of this spreadsheet shows, and this is just a suggestion, an increase in bag costs, prices, to help reduce the deficit for the trash pickup.
Like how much?
Well, this particular one says a $7 increase for both, which is quite a bit. That would net us a surplus of $13,000, according to the information we have here. But and we can debate the bag price, and it's not gonna happen in one sitting. But the other part is that we have zero revenue for our recycling side of things. There is no
Yes, yes.
revenue stream.
Yes, yes.
There's nothing.
Right.
So that I'm suggesting that we have a quarterly fee that's charged to every person who uses the program to pay for the recycling program. And that would go out with the tax bills, or I don't know the logistics, obviously it's outside of my pay grade, but it would be charged off to the Daytonian taxpayers, quarterly fee. Right now, the way we set this, it would be an annual fee of about $120, somewhere between $100 and $120, which is about per household, per year,
Okay.
which would be about a $40 quarterly increase, okay? That seems like a small amount to most, but I understand it's $40 that no one's paying right now. The problem is, I need some type of revenue source to cover the recycling program. We don't have any.
Are you gonna have issues with the residents who don't use that service?
That's a good question. So
Very
what,
good question.
so what
That's the
I would
reason
like-
why you spread it over the tax base.
right, which is why Dave and I will disagree on this. So
Absolutely.
So my thought is, just like with every other business plan you write in a number built in so that you know you have some defection because some people aren't using the trash service. So,
And if you don't pay, you don't use it.
right, but we need to
Yeah,
come up
use
with
it
a
for
number,
your
but we need to come
process.
up with a number that takes into consideration that defection.
So one of the things is that you have to provide recycling because recycling items cannot go in the trash. So really residents cannot opt out unless they can show that they have other means to recycle their items. So you can't, but one of the things that I noticed, and I don't know if you wanted to hold off maybe a year or whatever, but with your contract with Borges, a lot of communities have a revenue share with their hauler. It's not the days where you're making, big bucks anymore, but what it's doing is it's chunking away at your cost. So it's bringing it down. So,
Please explain,
I'm sorry,
please explain a little more, I'm not.
okay. So, in the old days, the haulers would pick up your recycling pretty much for free, or for like really low cost. Then they would take it to the MRF and they would sell it, and then that profit that they got, they would share back with the municipalities. Well, with China, that kind of changed the whole thing, and the haulers realized that they needed to make money, so they're charging these very large processing fees. They're still charging these processing fees, and the companies are really making a lot of money. Their stock dividends are doing great, but it's really hurting the municipalities. And what you can do is, it still goes on, that they're still making money from our recyclables. It's not a huge amount, but so what that, it's almost like a rebate. So like if they sell your Leiden's recyclables and it's, it comes to $50 that they make that profit on. And your recycling fee, I don't know what it is, but let's say it's $150. That $50 profit, like a rebate, would be subtracted from that 100. So your recycling fees would go up and down, but it would eventually actually lower it.
So I guess the reason why I didn't understand what you're saying is that I'm not aware that that happens now.
Right, so you don't have that, I looked at your
Right,
contract, you
right,
don't have that.
Right.
It's something that when you go out, if you go out to bid, or you want to continue to work with Borges to talk to them about that kind of thing.
The thing that I'm concerned about with that, Missy, is that I think we have a really good partnership.
Yes,
with
you are,
Borges.
yes, you are.
I wouldn't want to upset the apple cart and then have it so that Borges is pricing himself, and then we lose
Yeah.
Borges, you know?
Exactly.
I can put everyone's mind at ease.
Aren't we gonna lose him in a couple of years anyway?
Well, I was just gonna speak of that, David.
Scary when I can read your mind.
I was thinking that too.
I had an off discussion with Peter Borges. They're not going anywhere. They want to remain Dayton's trash hauler.
I thought he was
well into the
retired.
future. He's not retiring.
Oh, great.
Yeah, he's going to remove himself from the driver's seat and do more of the back work, but he's not going anywhere. Borges Corporation's not going anywhere. So that was on a handshake, and I think Tom can attest to this. If you shake hands with the Borges, that's all you need.
Then I'll say no more about
Yeah.
that at all, because really from what I could see, your numbers are really in your favor doing that, so.
And he committed to me that he's looking for at least another 3-year contract, maybe 2 more 3-year contracts. So that's all I can ask for. Right.
Yeah, that's really good. We have a value, it's a huge value that's way better than any other big conglomerate. But once you go that way,
Oh,
we don't have any way like of getting back. And it's just a challenge.
yeah, it really, when I looked at it, I kept saying, this can't be right, but yeah, you guys have a really phenomenal deal, and if you're happy with the service and.
Oh, yeah, they would love
We're
it.
not touching,
And the taxpayers love the trash haulers.
yeah, so that's,
Yes, sir.
Trying to align things in my mind here. With regards to making the trash program pay for itself, or nearly pay for itself. In other words, you discussed, deficits, et cetera. Well, it's a matter of, am I gonna pay for it out of my private pocket, or is the tax money that you take out of pocket going to pay for it? But it's coming out of the residents' pockets, number one. Number two, those people that opt out, what's going to happen there? I envision several scenarios. Number one, I go on private haul and maybe don't like those costs, come back into the program. Or they just throw it somewhere in the forest, whatever. And I don't think that's an unrealistic outcome to occur. It's just, I can appreciate trying to lessen the deficit. I can appreciate that. But here with my colleague David, it's a municipal service, and certainly we can look at ways to reduce the tax burden, I guess, on that. But in the end, it's still a matter of which pocket does the money come out of the taxpayer's pocket, A, and B, with the bags, you pay as you throw. There's a baseline cost, And then, again, back to the old thing, if I throw 10 and you throw 1, I pay for 10, you pay for 1. But a truck coming down the road to pick up my 10 or your 1 is still a baseline cost that I think is going to stay in place. That's just my feeling. I don't, to say we're going to lessen this deficit, people, when it comes down to the individual, people are still going to pay for it. It's just a matter of how you say they're paying. I think
I don't,
That's
yeah,
my
I
view.
don't wanna oversimplify it, but I agree with you, it all comes from the same place. With the exception of the people who don't have trash pickup,
correct.
and there are, all of our commercial businesses don't have trash pickup. Already with your scenario, they're subsidizing trash pickup for every Dayton resident.
Right.
The other scenario is there are some residential Daytonians who have private haulers. There are very few, it's not many. I don't know how many that is, but I can tell you it's not an exorbitant amount. I can probably name 5 or 6, and I don't know if there's more than that.
Is growing, it's probably 4,000.
Okay,
4,000?
no, 50.
Oh, okay.
50. But when you, so that's, okay, it's more than 10, but
It's what we're at.
yeah. But if you already know that you have, out of the calculation, you have 100 who are using private haulers, then you make sure you back that out when you calculate the math. The bigger picture is that by continuing to keep it in the current format, we are not always gonna have borders. Someday that is going to change, okay? Now, But we're making decisions for Dayton well into the future. We're not looking through this small lens of 5 years. What we're trying to do is create a foundation that's sustainable well into the future. If you continue on the path that you're going, you may get a scenario where a 2.5 doesn't cover the costs of your rubbish.
I recognize that, but what I'm saying is, looking at efficiencies, looking at perhaps increases in bag fees, et cetera. I appreciate all that. But again, to say we want to lessen the deficit, it's still taxpayer funded. And I think it will continue to be at some level. Taxpayer funded. Look at the efficiency and try to reduce it from, maybe $500,000 to, just to throw out a number, 150K. To me, that's a win. But I appreciate looking out into the future, absolutely. But I think efficiencies, and I think, again, simplistically, which one of my pockets are you taking it out of? Okay.
Right. I know we're probably not gonna see eye to eye on this, okay? But
One item.
It's a philosophy.
And I respect that, I do. But the way I've looked at everything that I do, including in my department, is someday I won't be here. Someday someone else will be in my seat. I want them to look back and say, this department was run in the most efficient manner possible. It was done responsibly, people followed the rules, it was a program that was paid for by the users, it didn't burn the taxpayers. What I don't want to happen out of this committee is that 10 years from now, the board just goes away, and now this price goes up 40%, which is highly possible.
Yeah.
And then now you have to do a 2.5 override just to get your trash picked up.
I'm not suggesting that things be based upon current situation or the situation 5 years from now, okay? But what I am suggesting is when we talk about costs, okay? Again, it boils down to the individual resident. And that resident is either a private payer or that resident is a taxpayer. And we look at efficiencies, okay, in the program too. And I would add, by the way, to anything that's done, not only, and I agree with your philosophy of, we want people to look back and say, this was done efficiently, responsibly, et cetera, but also incorporate the rationale that was used to come to those decisions, okay? Because a decision can say, well, this decision was made, okay, but how was it made? And I'm going back to when we did the land use thing, where we had that whole rationale for what we made in each decision, our protocols, procedures, and the rationale for driving that decision, which I think we should look at also.
I hope there's more involved than just show legacy.
Yeah, no, it's not about that at all, like, I mean, it's why we brought Ms. Dean to this. A whole process as well,
really
what,
like each other, we really do.
yeah, what we have inherited, like in terms of what has actually happened or not happened, especially over the last 5 years, we're in a backwards position right now. And yeah, like, I mean, and just from FY 2019 to now, we've had a $200,000 increase in the total cost.
Right.
And so yeah, we've had to absorb that completely up 2.5. And and thankfully we had an ability to do that. We're not gonna have that ability in the future.
What changed that's out of our control? What changed to cause that increase?
The whole entire, the whole entire market in terms of solid waste changed fundamentally.
No, it was mainly recycling that changed.
That's a
It looks like the
big-
disposal costs all went up every year too,
Thank
so.
you.
All these
No, I
disposal
just-
costs
we have no control.
significantly.
No, that's why I asked the question, because we can only control those things that we can control.
It went up $100,000 just since from 2019 to 2023, those disposal costs.
and then like it dropped, and then
I mean,
it
just in that
dropped
middle
back down a
column,
tiny bit, but then it increased again from 22 to 23.
right? And that's just
So
in
yeah,
that
like,
middle
and I mean,
column, not
even
the-
if we, and I guess even if we work with Missy, we don't have to have a wholesale rip the Band-Aid off right away.
Right.
But even so, if we structure, even if we have an ability to structure a process, so we're ramping up as we go, so we have an ability to be thoughtful and planning for the future. This whole thing based on the revenues that, we have, based on what it costs to actually run the program. Just in the last 5 years, we've increased tremendously, and we're not always gonna have the ability to keep doing that.
And one of the things that I've been trying to talk to my municipalities is, again, it's just not you, it's everybody. So to talk to your state senators and your state reps, let them know what's going on and what this is, like, we're paying money for, this much for trash. We can't do police, we can't do this is for trash.
It's impacting all of
Right,
that.
exactly, and it's just not you, and they don't really understand that. And they don't understand how the mergers and acquisitions have changed, how the market has changed. And they have, possibly some solutions that they could do for it or whatever. It's happening very fast. And I don't have any magic wand to say what's gonna happen. But what I can say is when I went back through the data that you guys have submitted over the years, you guys have a really tight, efficient program. You can't get your trash tonnage down any lower. I mean, you're at that margin there. You're one of our, our top performers that we say, look at, how good you guys are doing, kind of thing.
Which is why we get the grants.
Exactly.
I appreciate that.
But I mean, the thing is, so you really couldn't have done much with your numbers.
So I have a question. Tom mentioned about 50 residences that may not be recycling.
No,
No?
Using
often
private
not
vendors.
Oh, they're using, okay.
So,
Okay.
but it is, they might not be recycling, so this is getting.
track recycling?
Yeah, so this is where we as a Department of Health can work together. And I'm just really finding myself learning about how much power you guys have. To create regulations, so we can create, what we call private hauler regulations. So that if any hauler wants to collect privately from residents in Dayton, they have to fill out an application yearly from you, they have to have insurance, they have to provide you with data. They also have to provide those residents with recycling as well, so that they're not.
so that number 50 is a gas.
Okay, yeah, I understood.
And it's not all dumpsters, they just choose not to use that curbside. They have private haulers come up, someone on their car, someone
Yeah,
throwing bags in the private truck. So it's not just right around the town and count dumpsters.
okay.
Yeah.
But as far as recycling, the bins that go out, do those have numbers? Are those
No.
bins numbered?
No.
Can they be in the future?
We stopped selling bins years ago.
Well, whether they're sold or not, can they be tracked with a number for the resident that receives them? So
We're
we
still
know.
using them though.
But we, I don't know how this was promulgated, this was before me, but the recycling bin sales ceased.
Okay,
The taxpayer was allowed to use their own bin for recycling,
Okay.
whatever that may be.
oh,
And Borges accepts what you're recycling in any bin.
in addition,
And
okay,
that-
okay, so
that
there's no
increase-
revenue opportunity there at all?
It
or
increased the
track?
tonnage of,
Increased the recycling amount, which we thought was a great thing because we removed it from the trash stream.
Then the market flipped.
Right.
Right,
And then as Missy said, recycling went through the roof, Titan's doing a great job of recycling and then they pay for
Yeah.
it. So, you know,
One of the things I didn't talk about, and this is something that we can explore when we talk about costs and stuff, and it also goes into the RDP grant, is organics. And what this basically is food scraps and food waste. We do studies of what goes into our, the facilities. And 1/3 of the trash is food, whether it's scraps or, spoiled food or whatever, 1/3. We have various programs and different ways to remove food scraps, kind of almost like the old days kind of thing, taking that out of the trash stream. Some of my communities, because they don't wanna put a big, start a big new program, add a lot of money or anything to it, what they're doing is they're contacting a few companies to offer their residents a pickup service. They get a little, one company is called Black Earth, that's very popular. They usually require a minimum of 100 residents to start the program off. They get the little card and all this stuff. And the town can basically, the easiest way to start it off is subsidize the cost of those cards. What the town will pay for, 100 free cute little cards, I think they're like $35, so it'd be about $3,000. But the residents themselves get to pay for the service. They work with Black Earth, they set up their delivery time or whatever, the town is completely out of that. But what it's doing, it's removing that tonnage, food's heavy. So that's removing that out of there, and residents who can pay for it or want to pay for it are able to do that, and it's helping the overall cost. And then at some point, when you looked at your contracting or talked to Borges or whatever, maybe you might decide to incorporate that into, your program in the future kind of thing. But it really, it's one of those ways that a lot of communities are doing that.
so if that was something that the community set up with a company like Black Earth, is that part of the RDP so we can get points for that?
Yes.
for now.
And what category does that fall into?
So that one would be, I didn't know, I didn't know who or how many were gonna be here, so. So the organics, you got 0, but I think their categories are playing with a little bit, but you might be able to get up to 2 points for that, just subsidizing those cards.
This idea goes back 60 or 70 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, we did that when I was young.
A lot of what we're seeing is coming back to what we used to do, the fix it things, teaching people how to fix things,
But that's a real number taken off this deficit.
I'm sorry.
When you're saying it's 1/3 of the total cost, that's hitting that red number.
Yeah, that would be if, it was the entire town doing it. But, a way for you to
But
test the waters,
yeah, 100 cards is a test.
to see how it works.
Then you have to have in your house, every trash, every recycle, you have your.
Has anybody looked at the health aspects of these things?
Okay, but so it really is actually better. The Board of Health are actually, Walpole was a Board of Health that has started a program. So these are very heavy, thick plastic bins. These are not your average bins at all. They're rodent proof. They have locks on them. And the Black Earth in particular, they provide, liners and all this kind of stuff. So the residents would have it in their garage or whatever, lock it, and then you wheel it out to the curb. And it's actually in some ways, it's better than having that food waste in your pantry throw bag. Because now the animals have no incentive for digging in there, so you're now, orchards are probably lovely, you don't have as much with that in there. And the other thing is like I'm a backyard composter myself, but when these companies do it, they take everything. Like a turkey, the turkey carcass, you can put it in there. They also do things like they'll collect leaves and, other things as well. But it's really, a lot of health departments are actually liking it because it is removing the food from being, in a normal container to a locked, secure, really thick container.
Do you think this is something Portage could do?
Borges wouldn't do it. No, this would have to be a specialized company,
Yeah.
right? This would have to be a specialized company who has a end use for the food refuse. Yes.
I mean, there are other companies, down and around, I'm just mentioning that as one that.
No, I get it, yeah.
But,
I think, I just did the math quick. If every town resident did that and your third calculation is accurate, it's only gonna save us about 30 grand.
right,
just
it's not just,
It's not, but that would be every single Daytonian doing it, that's never gonna happen. However, it leads into the conversation that you ended off with, where we get closer to the number, we're not at the number, but chisel away at that number with these other programs, then the net result is we get closer to that number. So it could all.
exactly, and then when I was talking about those events, so, I don't know if I mentioned the vendor, but there's vendors out there, one who kind of specializes in it. He'll work with the community once or twice a year, where he'll collect, bulky waste and, white goods and things like that. He'll set up, wherever within a town or school or whatever. Residents will bring the stuff to him, pay him the fee, and then it goes away. So it's totally a wash through kind of thing. But it kind of helps the residents, and then also makes it a little bit easier on you. And then the other thing is, again, working with the community, Lions, the schools, churches, senior center, collecting other things. We could do a textile collection, which is a fundraising opportunity. I don't know if you even talk about textiles.
We have a textile company now, where we do that.
Is it at the curb?
No, it's at the transfer station.
Okay.
So,
So-
well, I'm sorry,
That's it.
there is a curbside portion to it, they can do curbside, yes.
Okay.
Does it bring in revenue?
Yes.
Small amount, yeah, small amount, yes.
Well, here again, two sides to the coin. Can bring in revenue or reduce, with this little program, you reduce the cost of something. So, from my perspective, it's win-win. And back to another point, there is no magic bullet here. It's all little bit pieces. And one thing I was interested in was your library, because that toaster, if I buy a new toaster, I can take my toaster down, I'm gonna use the library, I'm not throwing it away.
Right.
Somebody else might use that toaster, so that's out of the stream also, so a program such as that, where people might be able to reuse things, they don't go in the trash.
Berkeley has one of those.
Yeah.
So again, it's a lot of little chunking away, and that's what we can, it's not one big magic bullet, but it's the chunking away. And the other thing is with, again, when I looked at your website, I'm not criticizing, I'm gonna be looking at all your programs, but really getting information out to your residents. So your my toaster is broken. I'm not gonna say toaster, my printer died. Would people bring it to your transfer station or put it in your trash? If they take it to Staples, Staples will not only take it free, they will give you a $10 coupon. And there are other organizations or businesses out there that will do that, they're starting to happen more. Staples is now taking lithium batteries CFL bulbs. So providing this little information to people, like I said, chunking away at things.
Are they allowed to do that?
Is that
Something
something
we
I
talked
have
about
to
is
bring
education.
Yeah.
like 10 printers in?
Yes, yes,
And
so Staples has a
correct
limit of 8 per visit.
I would rather
Yes.
have the consumer do it.
Yeah,
I-
right,
I'm just-
yeah, they can, yeah, so, but
Are we
that,
allowed to do that as a municipality? Call out another corporation's name on a website?
that I don't know, yeah.
Good question, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we have to choose our words carefully.
Yeah, I don't think we can, a municipality or as a public entity, go out and, let's look at. Advocate for this
You
particular
guys have a
product.
recycle snap website
Yes.
that does have
Exactly.
resources to
Exactly.
all that stuff, so
And that-
we can link to DEP.
Yeah.
They have a website
Yeah.
called Recycle Smart,
Yeah.
and they have all that information
Yeah.
there, so.
I think our piece of that education is go out and make people aware again and again and again.
Yeah.
That these sites exist, and before you throw this away because it
No.
doesn't work,
No.
go on the site.
No,
No, why not?
you gotta educate them before they make the purchase. What is their use of that product? That's the ultimate goal. Before they buy something, they gotta know what they're doing with it.
Yeah.
That's where it all starts.
That's deep thought, right?
And this,
No,
this,
that-
no, this is
that-
actually
this is
really,
where
no,
it
this is really important, I mean, to be honest,
I know, I'm gonna do the toaster.
I can envision us having, I mean, we could have a TV program on this, and we could have this discussion. You know, the philosophical thing about that, because
I agree.
it's really what we're trying to get at is to start thinking about it, and there's a concept called EPR. It's an environmental producer responsibility. So if Procter and Gamble is making, you know, laundry detergent and all this stuff, why, you know, they're making these big jugs, you know, so why does the municipality have to pay to throw that away? Why does a resident have to do that? They've already bought the product.
That's a good question.
You know, and we've allowed this to happen, and these companies spend millions and millions of dollars on marketing and packaging, but they don't think about that end life, and we're trying to it's happening very, very, very slowly.
Redefine the whole
Yeah,
thing, it can be life with Dr. Tom.
So it's simply
Yeah, but I-
bottled water.
Yeah.
Versus boxed water.
Oh, okay, I missed, I understand that now. The other thing is, to your point, a number of years ago, a very large private entity said to another large private entity, specifically STPs, and we're not paying for water, et cetera, anymore, you're gonna reduce the size of your bottle, so all of a sudden, the product that they were selling was concentrated enough of this, they weren't paying, because we're not gonna pay to ship it, or have it shipped to us. And so I get it, I missed it before, but
It could be Strawberry Vine, which is, we talk about it annually. It's gonna stop the purchase.
and the holiday season's coming up now, kind of thing, you know, and people, you know, really just to start thinking about that. And this is a big societal thing that we're not gonna discuss here because we're not talking about it. But we can, you know, we can go into that kind of thing and, you know, look at it, but it's a bigger thing and, you know,
well, I think we've discussed this somewhat. With education comes acceptance or the reality that this is the way it really is.
yes.
And educator, I have a piece of this pie here. It's a small piece, but you know what? Enough small pieces add up to a large piece.
Oh, they do.
And so, yeah, education.
I'm your choir director for that, so I totally get where you're coming from, and I agree, and that's also part of the whole program
So the
process.
resources are, again, it's sort of gelling in my mind here that we can tell people over the course of the next X number of months or years, this is the way things are going. This is what we feel we need to do as a community. These are the resources that are available. Go to these sites. If we're, correct me if I'm way off on this, but if we're successful in doing that, people start to take their things here, there, instead of throwing in the trash, your number
staffed.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
and this is again where it comes down to personnel. So like, whose job would it be to do all this messaging? So we just had a webinar about the website, so that was the first on my mind. But some communities literally have a person that's their full-time 40-hour-a-week job. Sometimes, it's like a 10-hour person kind of thing. Just getting this messaging out to people, even in small
Is
communities.
there a grant to do that?
I'm sorry?
Is there a grant for an educational grant?
It's two.
There used to be.
It's two.
Unfortunately, we're having the cuts as well. But to be honest, it's sometimes, again, working with your community members. Having a volunteer recycling committee or a sustainability committee, like people who really love this kind of stuff, and I've got one woman in Dover who's she's in her late 70s. She's putting stuff out in social media like crazy. She's doing, making sure information's in the senior newsletter and, in the town, whatever, digital newspaper and all this stuff. So, it really can be anybody. It's not.
Wouldn't it be wise to have a template or a cookie cutter message, if you will, but what about that, Tom's whatever, that each town can align to their specific requirements?
That part, but it's gonna be a home recipe that makes it work.
Right.
No, I understand that,
Especially
I
in the
understand that, but,
community.
Like,
you know,
like
it's,
deciding what our goals
fill in
are,
the
for
blank,
this
fill in the
as well,
blank.
we've never done that.
you know?
And then tying in the financial thing, which is more immediate because you've got the budget season coming in. The one question I have is the price per bag, is that for the resident?
This is a number that was just put in.
Oh, but I mean, this is your proposed number.
This is just to see what it would take to
Okay,
be,
It's like a concept.
a
Okay, so,
concept of where we need to be.
so what I wanted to say, just want to clarify that, because those prices per bag, and this is where I can give you all the data for this, that's in the ballpark of what most communities are charging.
Right. Right.
So that's not unheard of at all.
No, we did some homework.
Yeah,
I know
you
that it seems staggering to Daytonians, but in the region.
Yeah, we never made the market updates as we really,
Right.
as we should have, and
Right.
that's what we're catching up on. How do we fund this? How do we do it compared to every other?
Right, and this is, you made the legacy joke and it was well received. But my problem with all of this is we have failed as a community to keep up with where we need to be today. Now the spotlight's over here. That's the problem, and I have no problem with it, I'll run with it, we're gonna fix it. But this should have been taken care of over the last 15 years.
In increments, you didn't have to
Right.
totally match, there needed to be steps.
Yeah.
So now you get it,
Right.
now you can trip it.
And again, you're not the only community, I've got another one where I have a technical assistance grant, it's same parallel thing.
Right.
And they're, to be honest, they're even back further than you guys are.
Right.
So, looking at all these things, and then also, something about doing a survey with your residents.
I think that's huge, to engage them as part of this
Yes,
process, I think would be helpful to define exactly where we are.
Well, said, which part are you taking out of, so is it you're charging the user specifically per bag, or you're hitting the tax levy? Or is it a little both and somewhere in
Yeah, like I think we work with, and we gather data,
Yeah.
we gather information, we try to come up with a survey.
Right.
At the same time, which will educate people where we are.
Yeah.
And I think it's a hybrid approach
it
to
is going to
everything.
be that.
So we're coming up on a couple of hours. Dave has been eyeballing that box for like the last 20 minutes.
I have no idea. I got a birthday party.
I would just say one thing seriously.
Yeah.
If we're gonna talk about increasing prices, it would not be a good idea, in my mind, would not be a good idea to only be talking about it until maybe February or March of next year. And I say that because Christmas is coming,
Mhm.
and the credit card bills come in January, February.
Okay.
And I just,
So,
from a personal
so
perspective.
that may play in. I'm looking for you, small explanation, where do we go from here? We
How
talked
we
about
kick
it,
off?
Yeah,
but we.
so what are your immediate goals, like within your budget kind of thing, I want, that's.
Lose the red.
Well, I mean, we're not in any dire straits, we have the money to pay for our program until next fiscal year. But budget discussions are gonna happen early next year. So we need to have some direction right after the holiday, so.
Are we ready to do that tonight, or do we need to?
No, we're not.
Digest some of this?
We're not ready to do that tonight, not at
Okay.
all. That's why I'm looking for a little guidance as to where we go from here.
It's going to be a multi-pronged approach. I mean, you're going to need to have that dialogue with your finance committee, your board of selectmen. You're going to need to really have this with your residents as well. In whatever format you use, whether it's a round table or actually an in-person meeting, I don't know, whatever, each town is different. And then also maybe even doing a road show, coming here to the senior center or wherever people gather in the town for this information. But having this discussion, this is the reality of it. We have a choice. Do we want to be able to fund, police and fire, or do we want to do trash? Do we want to do this, or, and when you start looking at the trade-offs of trash, the understanding is that, and let residents know that a town does not necessarily have to provide trash. Some don't, and that just goes away.
So yeah, like I guess, the DEP have any does DEP have a spreadsheet that shows who does what, how they fund it, what they offer, in terms of, what the town of Dayton funds, the trash program complete when there's levy. The town of, the town of Raynham doesn't have a program at all, if that's example. The town of Bridgewater, they don't have a program at all.
So,
Can have an analysis about how we stack up to everybody else. How we stack up in terms of funding, how we stack up in terms of paying for it, how. The town of Holbrook, I know is going through a reckoning right now.
yes.
And,
Going through what?
like a reckoning of like a whole bunch of things, but including the trash.
Yeah.
And, and they have a solid waste budget completely underwater.
Yeah.
And I guess it would be, it would be helpful to see from DEP.
Yeah.
Exactly how, exactly how we funded it compared to how other towns.
Yep. So if there are very specific towns that you want, let me know. Send me
Okay, in
this.
terms of comps.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
I can do that, and I can do all these different scenarios, I can do really pretty presentations and stuff, trying to keep it simple.
Okay.
But it really is good, especially when residents have not lived in different towns, to understand what others.
There's a whole picture out there, there really is, and I wanna have a broad,
Yeah.
broadly informed process.
I would suggest that when you make a presentation in whatever form to the public, don't put it in terms of dollars and cents. Normalize it, perhaps in the sense of the percentage of the overall municipality budget, not only ours, but the ones we're comparing it to, the percentage of their budget that goes towards trash. Because if you start throwing numbers out, they become inconsequential. We talk Dayton versus Taunton versus
Yeah.
Lee, Mass,
It might be a little
percentage.
bit harder because I don't have easy access to that.
Yeah,
It would take me a little bit longer, because I would actually have to contact the towns.
I actually think that if you give us the data,
Yeah, we can go to the
Crunch the
DLS.
numbers, we
Yeah.
can crunch the
we can
numbers.
figure that out,
Yeah, we can do the percentage, but
Yes.
the point being, it immediately normalizes everything. You can do a legitimate comparison between Dayton and Fall River.
Right.
Okay.
And the thing is, in any presentations I do, I break it down into, your trash pounds per week. Because if I start throwing tons, even at this table here, no one's gonna really understand what that means. But when you start talking about, 25 pounds, and I say, that's what the average household in Dayton throws out. Immediately, everyone in their brain can kind of go, okay, that's what I put out. And they understand that a little bit more,
Well,
so.
I understand that, I'm just talking about at, a couple levels up from the individual to now the overall town and how much is being spent or how many tons are being disposed of, et cetera. There has to be a legitimate
Like a per capita
so-
type of.
Yeah, that kind of thing,
Yes,
so you have
that's
to
exactly-
legitimately
yeah.
compare
Yeah.
Dayton
Yeah.
versus Boston for the
Right.
same.
And what I've been doing is really dialing down into the different communities, looking at how many road miles you have, how many households, owner occupied housing. So some communities, it's mostly landlords, so looking at that, I'm not going to be throwing in New Bedford, because that's just not anywhere near. But there are smaller ones that you could relate to. And then even in some ways, I'm looking at, the town and your population, some of the western Mass towns, because, you're close to Taunton, but yet, you're still far away, because.
I actually spent quite a bit of time in the western part of the state. We actually have the same type of community that I see out in the
Yeah.
western part of the state. So I think that correlation is
Yeah.
real.
Definitely, so you give me a list of, who you definitely want.
Okay.
And then what I'll also do is I'll look at, demographics, not only what I have from Mass DEP, but also from the cherry sheets and, even school information, like really getting information, looking, the census data about, number of senior citizens and, disability.
Yeah, that's huge.
All that.
We need to be informed by that as well. I mean,
So it's really, I start looking at things that are not really part of IDP data,
Right.
but it'll come from other, state or federal sources.
All right, so you're leaving here with a couple of questions that you need to research on. With Mike, you and I can work together on sending this.
Definitely,
get some
So
concept.
we can do it online, I can come, visit, we can do Zoom, whatever, but yeah, so here's the
Numbers
thing.
come back, how the number crunching.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you
Yeah.
volunteered for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I did?
Yeah, you did. As soon as you
No one better.
So what's your background?
I'm an engineer.
Okay. But you're very good, but also understanding the social components. Some engineers really dial down into the numbers and not
Well,
the human.
I'm an engineer, that's my training. I taught school for a while and I retired from the military, so
Okay.
as my wife says, military engineer is
Okay.
the worst possible kind of person. You
I
get myopic.
don't wanna.
So what he's also not telling you, he was also part of the original bag program
I'm
for
sorry.
the town. He was part of the original trash bag program for the town. We closed, he was part of the landfill closure.
And he was a former select,
Wow.
yes. So he's very, we
Huge
invited him for a reason, so.
And
We're happy to have him.
We're the town that, probably more than one town, but when the bids came in, we rejected all of them to capital landfill, and folks down in Lakeville were not happy with that at all, and we said, no, we're gonna rebid it, and the bids came in at just over $250,000 less. So,
Okay, thank you, everyone. It was a heartfelt discussion, I appreciate it. Schedule next meeting, we're going into the Christmas season, December. I will put on the table that the following month of January, I will be gone most of the month for a well-needed vacation. So I don't know if we wanna meet in December, I don't know if we wanna put it off to February.
Yeah.
You can certainly meet without me, that's fine. You missed me, Dave, but.
Why keep picking on me?
Jim, when do you leave again?
target. of
Christmas Day.
Okay, that's right, okay.
Yeah.
It also gives me time to kind of put all this data
Yeah.
together and
I
stuff
mean,
as well.
I am back in January. Well, we got, the last 2 weeks. I'll be back,
Is there anything we need to discuss that can be discussed at the beginning of December? or anything that can be put off until after.
Like your thoughts, Missy, in terms of the process, what the data that we're trying to
So,
analyze and look
I
at?
think we need to work on it together, like what you want me to do, so we can look and see what it is.
Okay,
You know, if some of these other little programs that we were talking about, you know, chunking away at things that involve a community member kind of thing, like think about residents who, you know, are the ones always calling and saying, hey, why don't you do this, you know, like, you know, those people that are the greenies or,
Right.
you know, kind of engaging the community to,
So do you have a menu of chunky programs that you could send us with a little brief description of what the program is about? And if we can get that in a couple of weeks,
yeah,
maybe
Yeah,
we
do that.
could meet
Okay.
briefly beginning of December,
Okay.
and just say, you know, sort of
yeah, like, and
look at
then
these things and say, gee, you know, this looks like there's some opportunities here, here, and here. And just sort of scope and to start sort of funneling things into, this is what we want.
Okay.
oh, yeah, and then, based on, oh, yeah, like, and based on the types, oh, yeah, and then based on the types of, and based on the types of data we'll be looking at, we'll have an opportunity to like further define and inform
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, but I mean, we gotta start somewhere, and I guess
Yeah,
we start
no,
off a
okay.
menu and
Yeah.
go from
Good
there.
idea. Okay. So what are we looking at then? We've got,
When would that menu be available?
so basically, what you want is, information about the programs that I mentioned, like the organics program.
Yes.
Yeah, that, to be honest, I could probably get that to you next week.
okay.
It's all information that I'm constantly sending out to my
Okay.
municipalities. I think you guys have my missing unis. I send out a weekly little three tips of information. And basically a lot of that of what I'm talking about is all that kind of information. But I'll chunk it together more for you with that. So you get a more selection of like a menu.
So how does the, excuse me, how does the first full week of December look? It's the week of the 4th.
I'm good then.
Dave,
Available all the time.
you okay? Tom, you around?
I don't know,
Okay. You might be gone.
it would be summons to Georgia.
You want, that's good, I would go. Do you want to go the following week then? Or,
There might be, well, I don't have to be here, I don't know much anyways.
Tom, you really?
Up to the 12th?
No.
That's getting kind of late in the morning.
No,
When do you start celebrating?
now.
Why not?
For the following week,
Yeah. What's that?
following week would be, I should be back by then.
Not the third,
No, ours would be the 3rd, so it'd be the following
third week.
the 18th.
Don't know how to get there and back yet.
Oh,
so that's what I
okay.
figure out.
Okay, 12th? You all right with the 12th? I know it's a week later, but.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Heather, you're around? Okay. The 12th it is.
December 12th.
Yeah, we'll set the next meeting for December 12th. We like this venue here again?
I like it, too.
Yeah.
It's,
Which, now that I know where it
This
is.
is 5 o'clock work okay for everyone?
Yep.
And then is it possible for me to visit the transfer station? No?
No.
Really, I don't know any regulations.
I was gonna ask that same question.
Oh, you guys can, yeah, we'll get to
I had
that.
one guy, like, he was in
No,
a
I
suit and
remember that.
tie and like all nervous, and I'm like, I just wanna look at your signs and look at your,
You gotta know Tom.
oh,
You can go-
I want to be your biggest fan, I'll be there for hours, like,
I'll
oh,
give you
look
a
at
private
this.
tour at your leisure. We're open 9 to 11 on Fridays,
Okay,
8 to 3 on Saturdays, that's it.
okay, that's fine, that's actually normal,
I can get you in there anytime.
okay, yep, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I just wanted to ask permission before I go put that.
You know, okay.
But I also see a really good opportunity where now your residents have to stop,
Mhm.
is that you can have A-frame signs all over, like with information, you know, that could, you know,
Right.
flu shots or, you know, repair clinics or whatever, so it's actually a good opportunity, so.
And I bet that could fall in one of those categories too for those little signs, huh?
I'm sorry.
Those little RDP categories?
Yes, yeah,
Those signs fall right through it?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
We have
I would.
Still
at
need
the
to,
transfer station,
We're not the net.
we have a message board.
sweet,
It's
Okay.
basically one of the busiest intersections in town, so when you stop at the stop sign,
okay,
you see the message board.
okay,
So that could be a rolling message
okay.
with instructions on it, input. Yes.
All right, no public input, we don't have any minutes,
No,
okay,
I'll have them next month.
okay, so I have a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Bye.
Aye, motion adjourned, thank you.
Sounds
Thank
56.
you.
How about opposition?
no opposition.
You didn't even ask for it.
I said no.
Do I have two no's? All right,